So this topic is with the taxonomic tools or the aids. Hmm? The tools which can be used as the secondary sources or resources for the study of the taxonomy. So in other way, this can also be called as a taxonomic literature too, because a taxonomist, a new taxonomy, a person who is new in this field can consult some of the literature, some of the tools, some of the aids which is available as a secondary source. So there are few tools which have been mentioned by the university guidelines or the university uh, curriculum, and we will see all these one by one in brief. So floras. So one of the taxonomic tool which is widely used all over the world by the academicians, by the students, by the researchers, and everyone else who deals with the taxonomy or the field study uses the book which is called the flora. So what does it mean or what does it contains? Flora is a systematic account of plants of a defined geographical area. So it is a book, actually. It's a book whereby the details of almost each and every plant is written, and this is limited to the defined geographical area, and provides an inventory, keys, and description of plants for identification, and it is often restricted to the vascular plants. So flora. Many times this flora, though we use in concern with the angiosperms, dicots and monocots, preferably spermatophytes, and again with the flowering plants. But nowadays, floras of other living plants are also available, but those are very few in number. Those flora are very few in number. Most of the times, those are referred as the manuals or the monographs, like things. But floras are there for pteridophytes. Sometimes I heard that is flora is there for bryophytes too, cryptogams. However, the flora, when we first time use the word flora, then we should think about the flowering plants. We should think of the flowering plants. So, alternatively, we can also define this flora as it is a systematic arrangement of the species of a given area or a particular region. Why it is called as a defined flora of a defined geographical area? Because going to the globe, going across the globe, it's a very big thing. In a single book, in a single volume, we cannot have the description of all the plants which are present on the globe. So these may be the units, these may be present, these may be published in volumes. For an example, Sir V.N. Naik, a respected Naik sir, he along with his students published a volume of book, which is a two volume of book, volume 1 and volume 2, and that is called as the Flora of Marathwada. Likewise, Flora of Maharashtra, Almeida, Sir Almeida, he published in multiple volumes, that is Flora of Maharashtra. Then many times when we look at the floras and when we want to describe certain plants or when we want to identify certain plants, we used to use a flora of a Britisher which is called as Flora Cook, Flora British India. Then Flora of Bombay Province, Flora of Madras Province. Hmm? You know, likewise, the flora is a book which accounts the every details of the plants present in the defined geographical region. So many times we can go with the flora of particular tahsil, taluka, flora of particular district. For an example, in our times of MSc, we were using the flora of Nagpur because we were student and we were restricted only with the available plants present in that particular habitat, in that particular zone location, flora of Nagpur. So it was written by Sir Uge Muge, and he's no more now, but we were following that. So flora is uh, published, or flora is made for the particular defined geographical region, and usually restrict to a major segment of the plant kingdom, that is flowering plants mainly. Because there are only few people who deals with the study of the cryptogams, or algae, or the fungi, hmm, or other living things. So flora term is usually, or normally, or generally is used to the descriptions of the flowering plants. So flora also contains the keys. Keys to identify. There are two different types of the keys. One is called as indented key, another is called as bracketed key. So there are keys which can give us an idea of the identification of the plant with the characteristics of the particular plant and the families. So there are keys provided for the families. There are keys provided for the different genera and the different species too. So along with the keys, other description like the flowering season, fruiting season, availability of the different species, representing the genera, everything is given as an illustration in the flora. So by the use of which a student may determine the names and characteristics of the wild plants of the particular area. Now, while dealing with the floras, we should also remember about the floras of the cultivated crops. That is agriculture. So here Pratiksha may be knowing with this because she belongs to the agriculture field. So the floras are different for these cultivated uh, crops as well as the ornamental plants too. Because many times when we look at the floras, we may not see the details of the descriptions of the ornamental plants, because many of the ornamental plants we have um, what we have borrowed. I should use the word here, borrowed from the other countries or other nations, or most of the plants are hybrid, most of the ornamentals are hybrid flowering, you know. So that's why we may not see the descriptions of all those things in the flora, which consist of the descriptions of the wild plants mainly. A flora covers a country, a section of country, a state, a valley. For an example, valley, which is a valley of flowers. Again, another valley, that is Kas, Kas Pathar. Likewise, we may, that is Kas Plateau. We may get the flora of the restricted region. A desert, or a vicinity of a city too, flora of Aurangabad. If some of you in next year, if some of you want to um, study the plants of your locality, of your region, of your village, of your town, likewise you can have the details of it too. Because last year or before that, one of our students also prepared a digitized flora of institute of our campus. Likewise, that can be restricted to a particular region too. So thus it consists of total number of plant species in a defined area and gives information about flowering season, fruiting season, distribution in the given geographical area, and every other possible details which can be given in the floras. Uh, but here, though the digitized flora, the e-flora may consist of the particular location, exact location, that is latitude and longitude, but uh, personally, I think this has to be restricted. Giving the exact location of some kind of plant should be avoided. If you go to the Google Map, and if you try to find the details of the military locations, then we cannot have the details of the military locations. Or for an example, ordnance factories. So we cannot get the details. So those are restricted. So here, if there is an endemic species, for an example, do you know the Butia monosperma, that is called Palus? So that is very common here. Orange red, which is called flame of the forest, orange red colored, and sometimes yellow colored, and sometimes white colored. But the white colored Butia monosperma or Palus plant are rare. Plant are rare, so we cannot find those plants easily. And if we give the locations of such endangered plants, then it will be very dangerous that many of the mischievous people, mm, they may trace the particular plant and they may cut it down. So the last plant won't be survive won't be surviving in the wild habitat or the nature. So this has to be restricted, as I think. And this flora, in any flora, the so here what does flora means? It's a book. So in any flora, the plants are arranged according to one or another of the available systems. So we people do follow the Bentham and Hooker systems of classification during the practical hours, in the laboratory, because it is the natural system of classification and it is the easiest one. Then the Engler and Pruntle. Certain people are habitual to use the Engler and Pruntle systems, Bessie's or Hutchinson's too. Hmm? So the flora is generally arranged according to one of the available system of classification, giving for each plant the complete scientific name, the author citation, reference to source of original publication, synonyms, etc., etc., etc. And it also provides details on rare and endemic species of that area too. Because this is again the creation of the botanist, and they want to preserve this particular species, and that's why they also try to mm, uh, expand the knowledge on this particular field, endemic or the rare. There is no single world flora that accounts for every species, even of the spermatophytes on the earth. So the floras may be different. Likewise, flora of India, flora of China, flora of Maharashtra, coming down, flora of particular district, likewise. And few important floras are here. World floras, likewise Babylon. So he gave the natural system of plants, the flora, in the name of the natural history of the plants in 8 different volumes, in Europe. Then Bentham and Hooker, Genera Plantarum, the first of its kind, 1862. And then Engler and Pruntle. So this is a glorified book in German language entitled Die Naturalischen P. P. Pflanzen Families. So it's a German, and it is written in 23 volumes. So it was a huge work of Engler and Pruntle. Then Leipzig, one fellow, that Leipzig, and other important contributions of Hutchinson, like by the families of flowering plants. It was published in 2 volumes from the Europe and the European nations. And these are certain world floras, and the Asian floras. Recognized one, Babu C.R. given herbaceous flora of Dehradun from North India, then Bandari flora of Indian desert, Nduthi flora per Gangetic plain and of the adjacent Sivalik and Himalayan tracts. Then after Hooker's flora is there, Hooker, J.D. Hooker, flora of British India, that was published in 7 volumes. hmm, uh, and then Kashat, Ladakh flora, Kirtikar. This is again the famous one, Kirtikar and Basu. So Kirtikar, he added to the Indian knowledge that is the Indian medicinal plants. This was again a kind of flora. Maheshwari, flora of Delhi, particularly Maheshwari. I mean, he is again a famous chap from the CSIR Institute. Nair, flora of Himalayas. Then Royal Forbes, illustration of the botany. Likewise, we can add many things to these floras. Then floras are categorized based on the scope and area covered. So what I was trying to tell you about, that is floras are geographically defined one. So these can be categorized differently. So in the regional floras, the student finds the available details of the plant life of his immediate environment. If we look at the Marathwada flora, flora of Marathwada, which is uh, the creation of late Professor V.N. Naik. So there are few descendants of the Naik sir. There are only few descendants of the Naik sir, and as of now, there are only few taxonomists hmm, who are known for their work. There are only few, and few person also acts as the pseudo taxonomist. Hmm? Pseudo taxonomist. They they themselves calling as taxonomists, but they are not real taxonomists. Likewise, here I am also not a real taxonomist here. This time, for the first time, I am teaching this area. So doesn't matter. We will try to get the concepts, dear students. We will try to get the concepts. Local flora. So depending on the coverage of the geographical area, there are the different categories of the floras. One is local flora. So it covers the limited areas, usually state, country, city, or mountain range. For an example, I have given here the flora of Marathwada by V.N. Naik, and likewise flora of Nagpur by N.R. Ugemuge. Then after regional flora, it includes large geographical area or botanical region. For an example, flora of Maharashtra by Almeida sir. Hmm. So Almeida sir is no more. Back by 2 years, he got expired. Otherwise, he created a good knowledge. And the flora of Bombay Presidency by Theodore Cook. Hmm. Now also we do have the Cook's flora in our library, and we do follow the Cook's flora some or other times. So these are called the regional floras. Now local, regional, after these two types of the floras, we can move down to the continental flora. Continental flora. So this covers almost the entire continent. For an example, Flora Europea. Hmm? This is one, Flora Europea. It's a 5-volume encyclopedia of plants published by the European nations, Flora Europea. So this is called the continental flora. So here the people try to describe the each and every available, observed, reported flowering plant in that location. But many times, dear students, many of the researchers do not cite the each and every plant because surveys are carried out differently. Hmm? Surveys are carried out with the plotting techniques, because if there is the forest of 1800 hectare, we cannot move down to the each and every location of that particular forest area. So for this, a plotting system is carried out, that is called sampling, which is a random one. So random sampling. So before going down, before reaching to the particular forest or the field area, the approximate plots are laid down on the maps, and accordingly the people reach to that particular area, and the sampling is carried out. So in this way, if in the particular random sampling the plant is found, then that is written, that is recorded, that is described in the flora. Otherwise it is left out for you people. So electronic floras, again one addition, which are called as e-floras. So now these are getting popular because it's available on a click. So it is the digitized form of flora published online. For an example, e-flora of India. So this is one. Likewise, e-flora of many countries is available on the online mode. Database of Japanese flora, atlas of the British and Irish flora, etc. So these are the available forms of the e-floras, and one can have the details at a place. What was happening before the availability of this internet and other computers? The floras were kept at the institutes. For an example, here in our case, BSI, Botanical Survey of India, which was maintaining the flora, or the herbarium, isn't it? Otherwise, the floras were only available in the form of volumes, and it was not possible to purchase the flora of every kind by the researchers, isn't it? So instead of all these, the e-floras are good to get the available knowledge on the particular plant. So this provides the information and also functions as an identification tool. So floras provide the information and also functions as a tool for the identification of the plants. So with this, we are having an idea of the utility of the floras. We do have the idea of the utility of flora. We should not move down with this slide, but it is a valuable document for college and university teachers. That means it's a valuable document for the reference of the um, academicians and the students of botany and agriculture. It is used to identify the plants. It is useful in biodiversity assessment and management of the biodiversity and the sustainable use of it. Flora is useful in forest management, ecosystem, and land management practices too. It provides basic information of plants in the area that we know. Flora is useful in development of botanical gardens and parks too, because many invasive plants, the plants which are not native to the location, those cannot survive or those cannot flourish well in our habitat. For an example, if you want to grow the Christmas trees, cypress plants, in our case, so it will be very difficult to maintain those plants. So here the floras can give us an idea of the selection of the plants. Selection of the plants. So in this way, the flora may be helpful for the gardens, and the botanical parks too. So flora may be made for particular use as medicinal or drug plants. Medicinal plants, flora of medicinal plants, that can be used by the pharmaceutical and Ayurvedic industries. Flora helps in planning a city. Avenue plantation, for an example, avenue plantation. What is avenue plantation? That is the plantation of the trees which can flower beautifully with the different seasons. So these plants can be planted along the roadsides. Those are called avenue plantations or city plantation. So planting in a city, are though if our requirement is of a shade, a green, or a dark, or a deep shade in the summer season, that can be given by the Alstonia scholaris, Alstonia, that is Saptaparni plant. So such type of the selections can be made by the city plants, and accordingly we can plant the trees. And flora helps in evaluation of phytogeography pattern too. So which kind of a forest is present in this area, likewise things can also be carried out here. The second tool of the taxonomy is manual. So manual is a book again that contains information on the area of coverage, hmm, that is geographical area, and keys and description to the families, genera and species, which includes the accepted scientific name with the author index, or the author citation authority followed by the author of that name, major synonyms, information on intraspecific taxa, if any, ecological and distributional data, and common names. So these are the manuals which are uh, similar, which shows the similarity with the floras. So many manuals have been revised and reprinted numerous times. For an example, Gray's Manual of Botany is now in its 8th edition, and such manuals become the standard reference for the flora of a particular area of coverage. Hmm? So here, this can be taken as the reference material too, and research trends in taxonomy require much attention to detail and documentation of the taxa by means of herbarium specimens deposited in recognized herbaria. So here for the manuals, this material, the herbaria can also be sought, for the help, sought to deal with this flora in the area. Modern floristic researchers diverts much attention to the typification. Typification, just we have seen yesterday, nomenclature, distribution, and ecology, in addition to the basic comparative morphology. So here, the things, like here morphology, comparative morphology is added to the manuals in addition to other description which is available in the floras. Now, monograph. So this is something different in some of the ways. A monograph is a complete global account of a taxon of any rank. A monograph may be of a family, that may be of a particular genus or a species at a given time. So, monograph is a book which contains the knowledge of a particular taxon at a time. Hmm? For an example, family Astraceae. A monograph that is called as monograph of Astraceae. That will give the every details of the family Astraceae, isn't it? If it is of a genus, hmm, it is of a genus. For an example, genus Terminalia. So it includes the every details of the Terminalia across the globe. That is called a monograph. So these are expensive. These are costlier than those available in the form of flora. So it also includes the existing taxonomic knowledge and all relevant information about the group. So concerns such as anatomy, biochemistry, palynology, chromosome number, cytology, that means chromosome number, and phylogeny. Phylogeny means that is the evolutionary trend or the relation of that particular taxon with the others. So phylogenetic studies carried out by its author, co-workers, or others. So every possible details are merged in the form of a book which is called as the monograph. It also includes extensive literature review of that particular taxon. Here taxon may be a family, genus or species. So all nomenclature information, identification key to all taxa, citation of specimens examined, and the distribution map. And all elements of the trees are accounted for by dichotomous keys. So keys are also given for the identification of the taxon. Full synonyms, if are available, are given, and complete description of the taxon is the essentially given. Precise designations of the types together with notes as to where the types are deposited. Typification, holotype, paratype, isotype, lectotype, neotype, Here, citations of the specimens examined, distributional ranges and notes on habitats and discussions of taxonomic and nomenclatural considerations. So here monograph contains every possible account of the given taxa at a given time. Now periodicals. So periodicals. So as the name suggests, periodicals means these are just like the monthly magazines. Hmm? Because these are published timely. So a periodical is a publication which appears usually at a regular interval of time. For an example, if it is being published monthly, then it's a monthly magazine or a periodical. If it is being published every after 1 month, that is bi-monthly, those may be called as likewise quarterly after every 4 months, every 6 months, or an yearly. So it's a periodical. A periodical is a publication which appears at a regular interval of time, and each issue is called a number. Each issue of periodical is called a number, or sometimes it's termed as a fascicle. Fascicle means here a bundle. Hmm? Instead of using a word bundle, it is called as fascicle sometimes. And collectively, these numbers or fascicles comprise a volume. If in a year from January to December, there are 12 periodicals, one per month. If there are 12 periodicals, then all these periodicals, all 12 numbers from 1 to 12, this will contribute to a volume. So this comprises a volume. So in the case of periodicals appearing at regular intervals, that is bi-weekly, that is fortnightly. Bi-weekly means Paksit, 15 divas, fortnightly, monthly, or quarterly. A volume usually comprises the issues of a calendar year. That is given accordingly. The names are the numberings are given accordingly. And scientific periodicals usually are sponsored either by a scientific organization. hmm, So that may be sponsored by a scientific organization like CSIR, isn't it? There is a unit of CSIR. What do you know CSIR, which conducts the exams for your NET, National Eligibility Test. So that is called CSIR, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. Hmm? So they are having their separate unit, which is called as the that is in the name of NISCARE. Hmm? That is a CSIR's publication unit. So in this way, here this may be sponsored, periodicals may be sponsored by the scientific organization or sometimes by a learned society, like the Royal Society of England. It's called a Royal Society. So they can publish because they are having the people of, hmm, they are having the eminent or the stalwarts, hmm, or an educational or non-profit research institutions. So previously we were our institute was also running with certain kind of periodical like university, and for today's date there are no periodicals by the university or institute for time, but we can start with the circulation of these informations in the form of periodical, such as a university or museum too, and serial may appear at regular or irregular intervals, and sponsors of periodicals often publish more than one serial too here. So these are called serials. Why they are called serials? They are in continuation, first after second, after third, after fourth, likewise. And a society may publish a monthly serial to provide a source of publication for a variety of relatively short papers contributed by its members. Because members of a society may contribute the papers. There are many societies, botanical societies in India. So the members of the botanical society can submit the article or the findings for the publication. Hmm? Because unless and until we publish our data, we cannot get the credit. So this has to be published. So this may be published by the societies or certain learned societies or the educational institutions. So this together with the records of its own proceedings. And such the periodical is usually entitled Journal, Annal, Bulletin, or Proceedings of a Conference or a Seminar or something else. Hmm? So here is a book or a publication in the form of periodicals. Again, here botanists generally use the abbreviated form of the titles in citations and bibliographies. So many times, abbreviated forms of the titles of these periodicals can be sought at the end in the form of references or bibliographies. And for this reason, it is necessary to know the full title as catalogued. So, what is the full title of the particular periodical that has to be written just like the journal's name. Otherwise, instead of writing the full name of the periodical, the botanist the people used to write the abbreviations, short forms. So libraries widely differ in the method of cataloging titles of the periodicals and too often fail to cross-index titles under the various possible headings. Now, here there is a cross-indexing manner too. Don't want to be have furthermore details here, but there are certain cataloging agencies which catalogs the periodicals across the globe hmm, or in India. Just like the same catalog which is published by the publisher. For an example, TMH, Tata McGraw Hill Publication, Himalaya Publications. In our areas that is Ajanta Publications. So they publish the availability of books in the form of catalogs. So likewise, in a country or in a continent or from the world societies, there are the available catalogs which publishes the names of these available periodicals that should be known by others. Otherwise, a periodical which is being published from this region may not be recognized by the person from Russia or from the American countries. So it will be havoc. That will be havoc. So catalogs are made. And in general, if a periodical is published by a government or municipal institution, it is catalogued under the name of the sponsoring country or city. Otherwise, if by society, academy, or educational institution, it is catalogued under the title of the organization, which in turn placed under the name of the city where it has its seat. So it may be of any kind. So that should be catalogued somewhere. Periodicals most frequently used in taxonomic studies of plants can be likewise here. Annals of Royal Botanic Gardens, Calcutta. So this was the one. Journal of Linnean Society, European. Records of Botanical Survey of India. Periodicals. Journal of Indian Botanical Society. Tropical Ecology Bulletin. Indian Bulletin of the Tory Botanical Club. Likewise, there are many societies and organizations and the institutes who publish periodicals of their kind. So here taxon is a bulletin published periodically by the International Association of Plant Taxonomy, Netherlands. And here publishing a paper in this publishing a finding in this high rank periodical, it's a good achievement of a person. So one can go to this taxon for their publications and getting the credits. Now, what did we saw till now? We have seen floras, we have seen manuals, we have seen monographs, we have seen periodicals. Four: flora, manuals, monographs, and the periodicals. Now, we will look at the dictionaries and the glossaries. Glossaries, what is called glossaries. So, dictionaries and glossaries form the nucleus of taxonomic literature because, dear students, as we are new to this taxonomy field, we may come across many new technical terms. Hmm? New technical terms. Few are very common, but few will be new to us. So at that time, we should have a dictionary with us, people. We do have a dictionary with us, dictionary of botany. So this will be from the nucleus. If we get across a new word, we can trace down to the dictionary, and we can easily find the meaning. And these are invaluable, priceless. Dictionaries are priceless works. So these are invaluable in a subject matter with so large vocabulary as that of botany. So many things. Apospore, apogamy, then the tracheids, the spermatophytes, cryptogams. All these words can be traced down to the cytology and genetics too in the botanical dictionary. A botanical dictionary may list and describe all known genera of certain plant groups. For an example, a dictionary of flowering plants and ferns by Willis. Hmm? So it's a well-known dictionary which may be available in the libraries of the institutes. A glossary is an alphabetical list of difficult terms with their interpretations, isn't it? So dictionary, one is dictionary, another is glossary. So glossary is an alphabetical list of difficult terms with their interpretations, and glossaries can be found at the ends of the books. Preferably, these books should be published by the good publishers, TMH, isn't it? Tata McGraw Hill. So many times, TMH books do have the glossaries at their end. They do give the meaning of all these new or the difficult terms in alphabetical manner. And almost all modern manuals and many floras include a glossary of the botanical terms employed. So those do have, but I was also telling you about the books too. So several comprehensive and nearly all inclusive glossaries have been published as separate works of definitive character. And generally, the data available in botanical dictionaries does not found anywhere else. List of all in the Hazel and Bridge dictionaries of common use. We cannot found many terms in our commonly used dictionaries, though it may be the Oxford one. We cannot locate the word in the Oxford dictionary. We cannot locate the word of a botany in the Oxford dictionaries too. So, dear students, for this we should carry a dictionary which deals with the botany. Most botanical dictionaries include plant names and are sources for the etymology, availability, etymology, evolution, etymology of Latin or vernacular names for biographical data persons for whom plants have been named and for vernacular names in various languages. So, this kind of knowledge will be available in the form of the dictionaries. So some of the important dictionaries which are well known are here. So Anderson's Catalog of Plants Cultivated in Royal Botanic Gardens. So this is one dictionary. The Wealth of India, which was published and it is being published by the CSR Institute. The Wealth of India, a dictionary of Indian raw materials and industrial products. Then Jackson's was a glossary of botanic terms with their derivation and accent. Then Lloyd's, a dictionary of botanical terms, which is of Oxford Press. Then VAT, a dictionary of economic products of India, a dictionary of flowering plants and terms. So these are the common types of the dictionaries which can be taken as a reference or standard by the academies. After dictionaries and glossaries, here indices. You may call it as indexes. Indexes. So the indexes or indices serve as an aid to locate quickly the source of original publications of a name, to learn if a particular name has been applied to a plant or to which order, family, subfamily, or tribe a plant of a given name may belong. So here these indexes serve the ready availability of the clues. Hmm? This makes us easy to find or to locate the particular plant. Suppose we are using a book, a simple book from TMH, a publisher, Tata McGraw Hill. So here, with this publisher, we can find the index at the end. So instead of looking at the content of the book, we can slip down to the index which is provided at the back side of the book. And if you want to trace the word phyllotaxy, so it will be easier to find the phyllotaxy word from the index where the page numbers will be given. So this will be easy material, handy material as the indices. So I have given only the example of the book, but here with the indices we can have the different things. So indexes, annexures like things, indexes. So here this can be given not at the last page of the book, but also indexes. The index of this common name, the index of the orders, the index of the families, particular names likewise. The important indices to vascular plants, the index cavensis plantarum phanerogamarum, 2 volumes. Hmm? And this work is a cornerstone to the literature on the systematics of flowering plants, and the compilation of original work was made possible by a gift of money by Charles Darwin. You know, the Charles Darwin gifted um, an handsome amount of money to the society, and here it was compiled at the Royal Botanic Gardens, Kew, by Jackson and his clerical assistants under the direction of the J.D. Hooker. So it's an index only. Index cavensis plantarum panoragamon. So it was compiled by the Jackson under the guidance of, under the directions of the Hooker, and from the money which were given by the Darwin to the Royal Society. So here, so index cavensis is the reference employed to determine the source of the original publication of a generic name or binomial of a seed plant. So what is included, what has been included in the index cavensis, that is the generic name or the binomial of seed plant when they were published. So this is the index. Another example is that the Grey Herbarium Card Index, published by Cambridge, Americas, a card index issued quarterly to subscribers, their members, according for all new names and new combinations applied in any category to the flowering plants and pteridophytes of the Western Hemisphere. So this is working on this. So every after every after 4 months, every after 3 months, here, the Cambridge Press publishes this grey herbarium for the change of any category of the flowering plants. Then another index is genera Siphonogamarum. Genera you may call Siphono or Siphonogamarum. So Berlin, Germany. So this work edited by C.G. Dalla, Tori Harms, accounts in 1 volume for the names published for families and genera of spermatophytes. So there will be different indices for different things. So orders and families are arranged essentially according to Engler's system. Under each family name are given the names of subfamilies, tribes, and together with the names of the genera assigned to each. Under each genus is indicated the number of species described in it. So this much information may be handy in this index genera Siphonogammarum. And with the names in each category are given the appropriate author citation source and date of publication and synonyms. So here this may be the index. Now the journal. So what we have seen up to now floras, manuals, monographs. Hmm? Then after what we have seen, the periodicals. Then after dictionaries and glossaries. Then after indices. And now we are looking at the journals. So the journals are indispensable, indispensable to when we cannot keep aside this journal tool aside. We cannot keep aside this journal tool because these are indispensable tool for taxonomic and biodiversity researchers since they contain great number of new taxa and the taxonomic information. So the journals are meant for the circulation or the publication of the newly discovered plants or the species or a taxon. So thus the taxonomic papers are not just pieces of scientific information, dear students, but also the legal documents to the extent that they contain description of new species and other acts ruled by International Code of Nomenclature. Hmm. So all these things are followed while publishing the article or the information. So the journals are the indispensable tools. Then pictorial encyclopedias. So a little information. A pictorial encyclopedia is again a voluminous book. Voluminous means that may be available in various volumes. Is a voluminous book, often in many volumes. That is voluminous. I have used it, containing articles and pictures of plants and flowers, and often arranged in an alphabetical order. So these are the pictorial encyclopedias. So this will be just like the floras or the manuals or the monographs, but these may contain the pictures at the majority. So pictorial encyclopedias. So we have followed the floras, manuals, monographs, periodicals, dictionaries and glossaries, indices, journals, and pictorial encyclopedias. And we are beginning with the last slide, that is catalogs and books. Catalogs and books. Catalogs are the books of libraries rich in botanical titles. Hmm? So catalogs of books, just like the publishers' catalogs. I had given you an example. Catalogs are the books of libraries rich in botanical titles. They have special value in taxonomic studies. And to refer a catalog, one should know full name of the author, exact title of the book, exact date of publication of the particular edition. Likewise, because catalogs may be the different ones. uh, Catalogs of titles, catalogs of authors, catalogs of the editions. Here, the different catalogs may be available in the library, and here these catalogs can be used to seek the further help or the literature on um, the uh, species, genus, or the question or the taxon whatsoever. Example, catalog of the Library of British Museum. So this is a kind of one catalog of the Library of the British Museum. So what is kept in the library? What is kept in the British Museum's library? That is catalog. Catalog of the Library of the Massachusetts Horticultural Society. Here. So catalogs of the Bombay Natural History. Hmm? Bombay Natural Historical Society, BNHS, Bombay Natural Historical Society, BNHS catalog. So here, in this way, the publication may be in the form of catalogs and books, and this can also be um, used as the taxonomic tool. So, what did we study today? The taxonomic tools or the taxonomic literature in the form of floras, in the form of manuals, monographs, in the form of periodicals, in the form of dictionaries and glossaries, in the form of indices, in the form of periodicals, and in the form of here what the catalogs and books. So, dear students, we will stop for today. And if you are having any question, then you may raised now. Thank you.